Hello, welcome to Conway Video. Today I want to do a video about my thoughts on the corona economy, so to speak. Basically my thoughts on how things are going to work in the next few weeks, months, maybe even year or two, depending on how long we're in this situation. I think my opinion, as you know from the previous video I made, was that we'll be in this situation for quite a long time. So based on that, I guess I'm kind of thinking about what is the economy going to be like? What is it like now? I guess that's one thing. Whenever I'm kind of thinking about the future, one thing I often try to do is think, well, how are things actually working now? I find, surprisingly enough, now is often a really good guide to how things will be in the future because there's a lot of things in this world that if they are happening now, then they will probably keep happening. For example, the Earth orbiting the Sun is just a basic example, right? The Earth has orbited the Sun enough times that we can have quite a lot of scientific and general confidence that it will keep doing so. Now, of course, there's a huge black swan and unknown unknown that might happen out there, like some kind of massive space body suddenly hurtling toward us, but it doesn't seem very likely that that will happen. So I tend to adopt that. That's one of the mental models I tend to adopt when I'm thinking about the future or what's going to happen. So I tend to apply that to this situation, I guess. And I just look around me and see, first of all, what's happening right now. So right now, the electricity is still on, right? So we've still got power. So obviously the power hasn't gotten shut off. So we haven't lost electricity. We haven't lost power generation. We can still charge our devices. We can still power our appliances at home. So that already makes me think, well, all those sorts of things are probably going to still keep going. So, there will be appliances, devices that we can still use. Energy will still be there. We can still keep frozen food, if we have a fridge, and we can boil water if we have a kettle, and cook food with a cooker, and so on, right? What's another thing? I haven't really seen any kind of news about agriculture or farming and that sort of thing shutting down. There have been a few kind of things in the news about the oil levels in Australia. Those were a little bit concerning to me, but I don't know, apparently they haven't been a problem up to now, and they've been in the news for quite a few years now. And I heard there was I think a recent deal with the US. I'm going to put links to all this, but yeah, that will be one of the links, I guess, will be about the oil supply, and I think the oil supply is kind of okay. So we should be all right in terms of, I guess, transporting the food. And then I also checked out like one of the websites, the government's websites on agriculture in Australia. I should probably mention a lot of this video is kind of centered around Australia, but other countries might have similar kind of parameters to deal with. But it does seem that agriculture in Australia is still kicking along, and there's government support with that as well. It's not obviously been the best harvest, but then, and I guess that's due to the drought and other things, but then we've had droughts in the past, so the country has been set up already to handle things like droughts. So it seems like food supply hasn't been an issue. Obviously, food distribution has been a bit of an issue, or should I say the overconsumption of food by people who are a little bit freaked out and trying to stock up. So that's probably been just something the supermarkets weren't expecting, right? They weren't set up for people to be bulk buying in those sorts of quantities at that amount of scale. But again, I'm not seeing any problem with that. I've been able to get food delivered. I've been able to go to shops and see shops still open. People I know aren't having any trouble getting certain basics. Sometimes I have to shop around a little bit, if you want to call that trouble, but I would call that more inconvenience. I wouldn't call that real trouble. I'd say trouble is when you literally cannot find a single thing to eat, or you can't find anything in a certain category. So you literally can't find any pasta, no matter how far and wide you search. There may be some people in parts of Australia who have that problem, but I haven't really seen it happening in any of the major population centres. So yeah, food seems to be reasonably okay. Internet. Now, my internet's been pretty good. It's been slow sometimes, but I mean, overall, it's no slower than what I would normally expect. I'm pretty used to internet being a little bit unreliable depending where I live and where I am. I haven't really heard anyone having any major problems with it. I have heard that there is increased demand, and that maybe with that increased demand there's going to be slowness. I imagine that happening. I imagine a lot of people are working remotely and really relying on the internet connection now because they can't come into the office and talk to people. So all that traffic, so to speak, all that communication is going online. But no, it seems like the internet is holding up. I mean, it's already been a few days of this lockdown right now. I think it's been probably about 2 weeks in some countries. So if the internet's still holding up now, I have a feeling it's probably going to hold up for the next foreseeable future. um, so what else? I guess there is also the aspect of the economy and credit and incomes and economic cycles, and this gets to um, something that I'm kind of interested in, which is, well, how does this affect the economy, and in what way does it affect the economy? People make comparisons to the Great Depression and they make comparisons to 2008. I feel like both of those comparisons aren't really accurate. I feel like the Great Depression, it was a different level of technological development. It was just a different sort of society. It was a different, there was a different level of industrialization, development, and so on. So, just because people have to stay at home, or most people have to stay at home because there's a virus, that doesn't necessarily mean that we suddenly lose all of our railroads and all of our roads, all of our infrastructure, all our machinery, all of our trading networks, our telecommunications networks. There's so much stuff that we have, so much just general stuff we have in the 21st century that we didn't have in the Great Depression, that we don't lose. It doesn't go anywhere. It's still there, right? So I have a feeling, no, it's not going to be like Great Depression. We're not going to like starve to death or something, or there's not going to be people like mass numbers of, there could be mass numbers of unemployed people, but I doubt there's going to be mass numbers of people going without a meal, for example. That doesn't seem likely. And then 2008, again, I feel like it's a bit different. Not necessarily that it's better than 2008. In some ways, it's probably a lot worse. But in some ways, I just think it's a different sort of thing. 2008 was very much related to the markets. We have to remember it wasn't related. There wasn't an external threat like a virus. In this kind of episode, there's this virus, and so the virus has a particular effect on people's behavior, which is different from the kind of effect that a housing bust has on people's behavior, or that a banking bust has on people's behavior. So again, I feel like 2008 it's a bit of a different ball game. I don't see those sorts of things happening. I don't necessarily see banks going under, for example, because it seems like the governments are doing what they can to prevent that, and it doesn't seem like the problems we're having are problems that would cause banks to necessarily go bust, although they are causing an awful lot of debt, an awful lot of deficit spending, so-called quantitative easing. But yeah, I do sort of see this being, I guess, a reallocation of resources. So a lot of people who were working in entertainment, tourism, like service industries, retail, a lot of these jobs are going to change or disappear temporarily. And then those people are going to be doing any number of different things. They're going to be they might be doing nothing for a while, or not doing that job, but then there are other kinds of jobs those people are probably going to be needed for, and that they may actually be able to get into. And I don't know how many of those people can do those other kinds of jobs, but I can see the demand will be there. For example, I can see that there's surely going to be some demand for manufacturing of test kits or manufacturing of masks. I mean, we can do trade deals and trade those items with other countries, but with the level of scarcity we're going to have, I could see like an opportunity for businesses and governments to bring that stuff onshore, basically, to speed it up and to increase the production. So that seems like something that could potentially happen. And then there's a whole class of jobs that it seems aren't necessarily going to be reallocated. There are some kinds of jobs that still happen during a recession. I'm thinking of things like, repairing basic repairs to roads, basic kind of keeping infrastructure going, keeping factories going, transport links going. The police are going to be more in demand than ever, probably. So will the ambulance, the fire brigade. So many of these sort of core jobs that you almost always have are still going to be there, and they may even increase and go up. And then in tech, I don't know, I'm seeing two different stories in tech. I guess I'm seeing one story, which is people, companies being forced to shut down or choosing to shut down and then firing their staff or losing their staff, who are tech workers or related to tech, or IT or white collar sort of work in general. And then those people are on the job market and looking for work, and so that kind of increases the supply of labor in that particular area of the economy, and so that could reduce the wages in that area of the economy. On the other hand, I'm seeing other companies where they're actually are very actively fighting to keep people. They're actually trying really hard to send people a message: don't quit, don't like slow down, don't stop, don't worry, we're not going to fire you, we want to keep you. And I don't think they're just saying that. I think there's good reason for that. A lot of IT companies or tech companies aren't actually going to be too much affected by this crisis because people are still going to use their products from home, right? Mobile banking, are people just going to suddenly close their bank accounts? I don't think so. People still need to pay their bills, right? And have their money coming in and that sort of thing. So people are still going to keep their banks open, bank accounts. So then all the banks and the financial software and that sort of thing will probably, a lot of that would probably still stick around. And there's all kinds of other things people do online that you need to have, IT support, programmers, writers, managers, all these kinds of people need to be there for that to still happen, and they can do that from home. So in a way, that workforce is probably less vulnerable to completely losing their job in their line of work. I would say anyone in the tech sector is probably going to, if they lose a job, they're probably going to find another one in not too long a time. But what I imagine they might be vulnerable to, though, is the wages going down a bit, because there's just going to be a bit more labor in the market. There's just going to be more availability of people to do that stuff, because those people will have left other jobs or lost jobs or be trying to get an income when they weren't before and that sort of thing. So I think the salaries and the wages might go down a little bit, but I feel like there's not going to be mass unemployment in the technical sectors. If there's one thing that tech can kind of do, it's work remotely. That's right. That's kind of our that's one of our little kind of tricks that we have up our sleeve. But a lot of other industries, I imagine, are going to have a hard time. People with those skills, though, I think people who have the skills of being entertainers or the skills of service, customer service, retail, a lot of tourism. These people can repurpose their skills and use them in other ways. I think those people can go into other fields. They could be doing blogging, they could be writing, they could be. There's all kinds of things that I can't even imagine that those people could be doing. So I have a feeling they're going to be able to find new jobs, but it may be a very difficult transition. So like all over, sorry, to kind of sum up, I guess, put it that, to sum up the whole thing, I don't think the whole economy is going to like massively, enormously change. I think our lives are going to massively, enormously change, though. That's the thing. I think our lifestyle is going to be different. It already is different, and that's probably going to keep going on. But I don't see any huge changes again around the corner. I feel like we've already kind of hit the change. This is right now what we can expect for the future. So this is kind of the baseline. Whatever happens after it, I think, is just going to be incremental, just small things around the edges. Maybe the government will, unlock down certain parts of the country. Maybe they will, be even more locked down on other parts. Maybe they'll change the policies with travel temporarily. All these other things will be just little kind of rearranging the chairs on the Titanic, but I think the Titanic is well and truly sailing. It hasn't gone down yet. Let's hope it doesn't, but I think it's still sailing, and I think things will probably just kind of keep going the way they are in a lot of ways. So anyway, those are my thoughts. I'm really interested to hear other people's thoughts, so feel free to leave a comment or post your own video or whatever. I'm going to be out there looking for people's thoughts on what the future is going to be in the new corona economy. I do wish you all the best, whoever you are, wherever you are, and good luck, and peace out. Thank you.